Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight. I'm Alexis, and I'm joined by David Francisco for our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reaction commentary series. We are finally here. One of the landmark, legendary episodes of this wonderful TV series. This is literally one of the reasons for why we were so excited to get into it in the first place. I can't remember. I just cannot believe that we're already here already. We're literally capping off 2024, or at least the end of it anyway, with this episode. We started back in April with the first one, and now here we are, and I think it's pretty fitting for a lot of different reasons. This is going to be, it has already been known as one of the most memorable episodes of the whole show, I think, for a lot of reasons, honestly, from a writing standpoint, a directing standpoint, an acting standpoint. And that doesn't even begin to deal with the big revelation that forever changed what the show would be in the future. It felt like a really big culmination, and it felt like a monumental moment that in some of us who were far more hopeful in that time would have imagined that perhaps this would have transcended the four walls of television and at some point would have jumped onto the big screen with a really good connection of sorts. And unfortunately, that was never to pass. But that did not change that the future of this show would be forever changed. That's right. We're talking about Season 2, Episode 10, which, this might as well be the finale for this first half of the season. This is called What They Become. This was written by Jeffrey Bell, who is one of our EPs here, and written by Michael Zinberg. This was broadcast on December 9th, 2014, to 5.29 million viewers. Of course, it stars our regular cast of stars: Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Brett Dalton, Chloe Bennett, Ian DeCastricker, Elizabeth Henstridge, BJ Britt, and Nick Blood, featuring guest appearances by Kyle MacLachlan as Kel, Henry Simmons as Alfonso McMckenzie, Adrian Palacki as Bobby Morse, Ruth Nega as Raina, Reed Diamond as Daniel Whitehall, Patton Oswalt as both Billy and Sam Koenig, and Jamie Harris as Man. That's hilarious. Okay. There is a lot, obviously, here in this episode. I'll save this part for the end as far as some notes are concerned when we get to critical reception and for the production. We do have some comments to get to, obviously, from last time, I want to say, wherever the last time that we had, maybe there are comments to talk about. But David, this first half of the season, which, as I've been saying, really is a season unto itself. Mm-hmm. You said going into season 2 that you weren't quite sure how much of it you remembered. How much do you remember this episode that we're going to watch?
Just the big moment, really.
Okay. The big thing that happens at the end, which okay. Mm-hmm. So now that we're just about wrapping up season 2A, if we're going to call it season 2A, how are you digging it?
It's good. I liked what they did. I mean, my favorite thing was just Fitz and Simmons, their relationship, especially Fitz, his progression of, battling his brain damage and all that. I liked the new characters. They were really fun, especially Mac. We'll see what's going to happen with them. Mm-hmm. And then just everything to do with the relationship with Daisy, Coulson, and May. They really kind of they tried to bring it together on that last episode, episode 9.
Yeah.
It was really nice. I think, my main complaint really is just Trip. He did nothing, honestly. He was just there, made some comments, funny comments. He's still more of a standout than the rest of the cast, weirdly. That's just how much of a presence he has. Yeah.
It's all Riz. That's what it is.
It really is
what it is.
Mm-hmm. So I really wish they would have done a little bit more with him as well, especially if they knew they were going to lead to this. Yeah. So that's just really the one thing that sucks.
Yeah, it's the big sore spot, I would say. But on the whole, I think it's been as flawless as you possibly can imagine a season of TV to be, especially when you compare it to season 1, which, by the way, season 1 was very, very good. I'm not saying it was bad. In fact, there's plenty of recordings. We did every single episode. But I just feel as far as like what they've been able to improve dramatically as far as obviously pacing and writing and acting and directing, obviously, we've been seeing jumps in quality from all sorts of different departments, particularly when it comes to choreography. They're beginning to up and up a notch. And I feel they're both excelling at prioritizing both plot and character at the same time and kind of feeding into one another, which is what a show like this would kind of want to be, obviously. But I also just feel like we feel so far away from the days of season 1, even though it's just the second season. But it just feels like there's just been this journey that has like, wow, we really have come a long way in such, what anyway feels like a short amount of time. But for them, maybe not so much. And I think to me, when I was watching it in real time, I was just kind of amazed by like the idea that how much the characters could change in just a season, and how effective they are at being able to make it work, feel natural, not feel contrived, not feel like, oh, I hate what we're doing. Let's just go back and have them be happy and get along and everything, you know? Why can't we have it just how it was in the first episodes of season 1? I never once had that feeling, because I'm like, this is really good. And they're doing some really interesting like takes with these characters, and even the new characters, like just about all of them that were brought in. I'm like, wow, I'm really liking all these new characters and the dynamic that they're bringing to the show. To me, it feels very validating that the team that we fell in love with in season 1 ended up being the heirs of S.H.I.E.L.D., basically, and keeping the spirit alive. And I think it's like, you have to also consider the fact that when you take it into the larger context of like how this S.H.I.E.L.D. ragtag team was treated by Kevin Feige and the Marvel movies, it's just like, again, S.H.I.E.L.D. basically is never brought up again in the movies, much less Coulson. So it's like, I guess from that standpoint, it kind of unironically feeded into this narrative that, oh, this is a new S.H.I.E.L.D. team that's working within the shadows because they're never seen and they're never talked about. Of course, that kind of comes into some problems when we get into season 4 and they're kind of unveiled to the public. And then we get into some bigger problems on the fact that there are Inhumans running around, and that's never mentioned in the films. And so at first it was kind of working a little bit unironically, but then it stopped working the minute you realized, oh no, they're just being dicks and assholes and jerks, and they don't really care to ever incorporate anything from the show. And if they do, it's not specifically from the show, but it's diametrically in opposition to what was established on the show. Okay. Anywho, every time I rewatch the show, this part, season 2A, is always such a blast. And I think what I've have been noticing is, as we've been reliving the episodes, just the momentum, week to week to week. I think you're seeing how we're experiencing the show again. It's not, these days anyway, the easiest to be invested in a show week to week. But it's keeping my interest, obviously, so I think it's doing something really well. Anyway, do we have any comments?
Just one from episode 8. Get it up. It's from Silver Surfer. Always good to see you too. Hope all is well. Cal really steals this episode. You can feel his fury and pain when his line, "That's not her name." And to this day, and to this day, I still use his line of emotions.
Yeah, the way yes, the way he says that, he does such great things with this character, and the way that he says certain lines have stuck with me to this very emotions. The way he says that,
it's so psychotic and everything, and it's just, and it's really great, like rewatching it, knowing the context of everything. Because you when you first watch it, you are kind of like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy, like that's I mean that's all you can think about. But then once you get everything and you watch it, you're kind of like, oh my god, you're like literally broken.
Yeah.
So
you're broken. And you're still not sure how broken he is until you realize it's pretty freaking tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shall we go ahead and get started then? Because this is a pretty big episode. It's going to be moving a mile a minute, I assume.
Oh yeah.
Previously on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm just being reminded of last week's episode, and I'm like, oh shit, that's right, all this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that sequence and the again. It's a TV show, and a lot of their action sequences have to be in closed, confined quarters. But that last one they did, just on top of the temple with Mac or Kree-Mac was like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this opening sequence here, Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember how good this is, but and how good this is looking. By the way, that right there looked better than all of Black Widow.
Yeah, that sunset. I hate that they can't get sunsets right. They're so beautiful shots, and they look ugly.
What? No, go. Move over. Go.
I was actually curious how they're gonna like show them the two Koenigs together. It's like, okay, yeah, just editing.
Now.
That was all FX. That was all VFX, guys. Like, that was...
They look great.
Wow.
We'll do everything possible for Mac. But right now, we have to stop Hydra from getting the obelisk into those tunnels.
I mean, right now, it's just like, what do you do for Mac?
Mm-hmm.
He fell down a hole.
The good news about going old school is that these babies are immune to EMPs and electronic jamming. The bad news...
You can't trigger them remotely.
Yeah, we'll start the timers and run like hell. Pick 4 spots and I'll make them go boom.
So they're already putting Trip on the forefront because this is only time.
If Mac's alive, there's still hope we can save him.
This is, by the way, that when the sequence earlier, we had a cut to the garage. And then now here we are, Bobby, looking for and finding the thumb drive that has all of the dirt that Mac had been able to dig up on Coulson. The recon he's doing for the real S.H.I.E.L.D. team.
You've transformed her into an agent who's smart and tough and capable. If there's a chance for her to turn the tables, she'll take it.
Which is very true, and we're going to see that happen. As a matter of fact.
Do my promise.
I feel like when we're all watching this, it's like letting the air out of the balloon.
Mm-hmm. Especially for me, that like I don't remember much. Like I said, I know the big review, but this part I'm like, wait, what does happen? Like, what do they say? I can't remember.
Cal, I'm your father. Would you like to sit down? Well, I don't know what you know about me.
You're a monster. A murderer. A trail of death wherever you go.
Those are all true. But you need to understand. My little girl was... You were taken from me, and my world fell apart. I worked in a clinic. People liked me. I liked myself.
So what happened? Hey!
This is the thing I want to say. Maybe I haven't been clear. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is your destiny.
We were very quiet the whole time, but it's so good. It's really, really good. I mean,
you don't want to talk over it. That's how that this is one of the crucial scenes that you've been building up in your head for the whole show at this point. It's like you just want to relive it, you know? And every bit of it, every beat is just like, and I love how, by the way, did you catch how uninterrupted for the most part that whole exchange was? Like it was going for a bit.
It went on for a long time. If it was a Marvel movie, some jokes here and there, especially from Daisy or Sky still in this moment. Probably someone would have interrupted them at the end for sure.
A lot sooner.
It would have been different. And it just, okay, hold on.
You work for Whitehall and for Hydra. They're the bad guys. That makes you a bad guy.
No, I don't. I don't work for Whitehall. I could never. Whitehall cut her to pieces. He took her organs, her blood. And when he finished butchering her, he dumped what was left in the ditch like she was garbage.
I've heard that before.
She used to sing it to you when you were a baby.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
No, these scenes are so good. For one thing, like, the writers know that Sky is an Inhuman. I'm sure they wish to just give that information right away, but they need to build up for it. And the way they did it was really, really well. First of all, Cal, like, the most important thing is just like, I really want this to be perfect, you know? It's like, he's just super excited and all that. So, like, that's his main focus. His main focus isn't to, like, okay, I gotta give her the information she needs. Because if you look at it, you know, objectively, he should be telling her right away. It's like, okay, here's the plan. I hate Whitehall. I'm gonna kill him. You're an Inhuman. Like, those are the key things that you need to focus on. But because he's so insane, his sole focus is on Sky. That obviously he starts off that way. And then as the scene goes on, your main worry, though, is like, what's going to set him off? Like, what the heck is Sky going to say that might set him off? And she's not going to, like, want to be with him. But no, it's slowly getting more and more information. She slowly understands, like, okay, I can kind of see why he might be this way. And then just, again, you mentioned it's like, it just kind of stops. Everything just stops for them to have these moments and all that. And then,
right, because the whole show's been building to this. You know?
And then,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's like, the whole point is for them to really get to know each other just a little bit. This is their first introduction, and so they're gonna cover some of the Inhuman stuff a little bit, the plan a little bit, but it's more just so getting a feel for each other. And just trying to understand each other a little bit. I think we get to see a lot of where Cal's head is right now. We just have to praise, the writing obviously, but Kyle and Chloe, this is their first scene together. That was easily at this point like one of the best, if not the best, scenes on the show. A lot, by the way, has just happened in the last couple of moments. We don't want me to skirt over that. Coulson mentioned Theta Protocol for the first time. That's going to come back into play in the second half of the season when he was talking to Agent Koenig. That's basically the helicarrier that we see in Age of Ultron, and has been that's what Theta Protocol is. And then
I have
we have this moment
as to why she's here.
where Dr. Whitehall is like, okay, why are we all here?
I'd like you to pick it up.
But if you notice, Cal didn't say to Sky, your mom's alive. And you have to wonder, well, aside from this point, we're not made to think that she's still living. Obviously, how would we think that since we saw her corpse? But at the same time, you have to wonder also, did he stop short of saying that because he personally no longer considers Jiaying alive? Because whatever took her place was a much more twisted and dark version of her. And the only reason he's the monster that he is right now was because he felt the need to remake himself in order to be accepted by the person who Jiaying is now. Just some Speculation on my part.
No, yeah, that makes total sense.
He didn't act as if she was still living in that exchange.
Yeah, and it makes total sense what you just said. And I was actually wondering that myself too. It's like, okay, he tells her that she's basically dead, but we know she isn't. He knows she isn't. So
Don't die out there.
no, it's
We tend
interesting.
to remind each other not to die.
Thought that was implicit.
He likes to hear it.
Who doesn't like to hear it?
I still think one of you should wait up here in case something goes wrong.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we already talked about
By the way, what Shield also does, like they have this expression about like being able to chew gum and walk at the same time. It's like Shield and this whole team understood that the main focus is Skye and her father, obviously, but that doesn't mean that we're going to shortchange anything else happening in the periphery. Like everybody is getting like really good moments here.
No,
Like there's a lot. Bobby and Hunter, we haven't talked about enough, but they're having some pretty good moments throughout this episode as well.
Which is what you do with any show and movie, you know.
Exactly
you
what
don't
you should do.
don't
Yeah,
make people go on pause just because there's some other things going on.
right.
You look like Agent May. I knew her. How'd you end up with her face?
Serving Dr. Whitehall.
I mean, it's doing so much at the same time, but it also isn't feeling too much. They mentioned Theater Protocol. They're teasing the whole plot for season 2B of The Real Shield. They're setting up here Ward and Agent 33. A lot is happening. They basically tease Jiaying, although at this moment we're not led to believe that she's really alive. But underneath everything going on, as far as the surface level of the show, we're going literally underground into a hidden alien city that's going to unleash Inhumans. It's going to forever change the show. So right now, we're literally on the precipice of this big, major shift happening on the show.
Discovery requires experimentation. I killed your wife, and before I kill you, I want you to watch what I do to your daughter.
So sadistic, man. And he loves it too. And by the way, what's really messed up is like Skye basically has the same thing done to her in the last season. Nathaniel Malik used literally the exact same like notes that Whitehall used to basically take Jiaying's organs and transfer the healing abilities into himself.
Tell you what, let me go now. I'll tell him.
Man, you can't keep Cal down.
Get off in here. Pop an eye.
Shut up.
Just trying to be helpful. I'm a lot nicer than he's gonna be.
Damn.
You're welcome.
And I should have mentioned, obviously, the whole exchange of Cal and Skye. Again, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and it wasn't all bad. It was a right combination of awkward, you know? Awkward, tragic. It's just all... They played it all the right ways.
Yeah.
Even down to when Cal was like... He wanted to touch her for the first time. He was even struggling, hesitating. Then he put his hand on her, and Chloe was a little bit disgusted, but then also a little bit reassured. All the while, Cal was singing the song that she was hearing in her nightmare in the episode before.
I'm not afraid. I can do it.
Fitz.
Yeah, other direction.
Take a team and sweep this place floor by floor.
Yes, sir.
Again, here is a really good instance of subverting expectations. What do you do when you set up this perfect revenge and then things just kind of go the wrong way?
You do!
You're welcome.
To be fair, though, honestly, I get it. Why he's mad. Like,
I
after
really
Whitehall did...
He's so fucking torn up about it. You can't.
I know in some insane way you love your daughter, but I will kill you if you take another step. Now, where's the obelisk?
You can't stop this!
That was honestly kind of bad shootout. I just... They can't all be perfect, you know. I'm watching this every once in a while. I think it would have been cool if there was like we saw that like the dust coming out of the wall.
Yeah.
There were some moments like that. That would have been great.
It's exciting, unusual people. And kill them.
Also, one part I didn't mention, and when Cal put his hand on Sky's shoulder, I love it when they knocked on the door and he had this look on his face, like, who the fuck is knocking right now? It's so good.
Daughter.
She doesn't need you. She needs me. I'm her father, not you!
At this point, like, look, Cal has plenty of reasons to hate Coulson. Coulson's from S.H.I.E.L.D. Cal believes S.H.I.E.L.D. are the ones who are responsible for taking his daughter away from him. Also, even adding insult to injury. Oh, by the way, this moment can... Oh my god. People were like, yes!
You taught me that.
And the way she threw his things back at him? But also with this situation here, it's like...
Oh, shit.
Stop it! Stop it or I'll shoot! Dad!
I'm your father, and I love you. I will always love you, Daisy.
Man. The reveal of that name?
I forgot how you even said it.
Yeah. There's the original Sky theme right now playing in the background.
I couldn't kill him and I wanted to and I couldn't. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna find the obelisk.
No.
I'm gonna stop the drill. I'm gonna make it right.
No, Sky.
Oh God, Raina.
Oh, I forgot about Raina.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. I forgot she was even here. That's... That effect they have with the eyes, very creepy. Very well done.
But after all the carving and obsessing and searching, I'm pretty damn curious to see what all the fuss is about.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Guy!
See, and that sucks because if he hadn't have done that, he would have
Probably would have been fine.
He would have lived.
Yeah.
No. No!
And then he died thinking she's dead. Dude, what the fuck? See, if they would have done one with him, this would have been a lot more tragic. But even when I first saw it, I was just kind of like, oh no, he's gone. Dang, that
Anyway.
sucks. Yeah, really, yeah.
Yeah. Damn. And then the debut of this beautiful theme. The music that Bear McCreary created for what is now the Daisy Johnson theme is appropriately, it's a combination of tragic and epic. And then here's our I don't know where the hell this is. I don't know who the hell these people are, but
you know it's related.
Are you seeing this? There's someone new. Tell the others I'm on it.
let me collect myself for a moment here. I mean, we have to talk about so many things here, obviously, but Oh gosh. I can't even begin to tell you how in complete awestruck, a sense of awestruck that I was watching this for the first time in my life. I was like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be seeing anything like that on a show like this. To me, when I was watching this, it felt like one of the most out of nowhere, in a good way, like plot developments I've ever would have conceived of. The idea that the main character of the show, who started off as a hacker and then turned into a secret agent, was also part alien with superpowers.
And it's just so great you're watching this and like actually being excited to see her beginnings of these superpowers, you know? Like, I won't say the name, but there was a show that I recently watched. I already complained about it. But like the things that they built up in the newest season, I was just like, I wasn't feeling this. Even just from rewatching a show, I wasn't feeling the same way. And so the fact that it could still pull it off, it's really great.
We also need to look. This is a low budget TV show, and it's not complimented nearly as much as it deserves to be complimented. But the idea that it just produced the Bear McCreary score is incredible, because it's not just creating music that's atmospheric for all of the action and quick scenes, but the themes that he composes really do, I think, are very memorable, and many of them came back here. We had the original Sky theme that came back. In the background, when she was when she saved Coulson from Cal. We had the theme that was used first for the GH325 injections, when we found out the creep were involved and was part of the DNA that brought Coulson back. And now it felt like, you know, I love how Bear uses his themes kind of to build out these arcs, and it felt like the unveiling of this alien city temple was like the grand culmination of everything we've been building toward by using that theme. And then, of course, underscoring how we have hit a new frontier on this show with debuting not just a new piece of music, but perhaps the best piece of music he's made for the whole show. That theme is the first thing that you're going to associate when you picture in your head Sky transforming into an inhuman, and that music is so synonymous with that moment. And I think we would be rather incorrect to just gloss over his contributions to the show with those beautiful pieces of music that he's been able to compose. But similarly, also, the VFX work on this show. Look, most of the show obviously was filmed in close corridors with this episode and indoors, yada, yada, yada. For the most part, of course, they're able to really excel with that. But they get away with it, too, because they also... I don't know if they spring some change. That's what it looks like, although I think they're just able to make it work with the pennies they have. But the opening sequence especially, and then of course the transformation itself, I mean, this is not an episode that feels like it's skimped out on the budget when it comes to effects. So when you look at it from an all-encompassing perspective, this is really a show that has culminated to this moment that is really firing on all, well, I shouldn't say all cylinders, all but one. Of course, the main critique is Trip. And him being a sacrificial lamb, basically. And I feel like all of the criticism for that is very much justified. And if it bothers you, of course, that's the one area where I think the show was very much lacking in fleshing out this character. But as far as everything else is concerned, I mean, even seeing something as simple as Fitz, you know, getting back into action a little bit and trying to, you know what? No, I can't handle this. Let me go and do it on my own. But Trip himself got some really great moments of heroism. And as well as, oh my god, how freaking terrifying and effective Mac was as the alien zombie thing working on behalf of the city, to the wonderful chemistry and rapport that Bobby and Hunter have built back up together in the 5 or 6 episodes we've seen them together, and them just kicking ass, to wonderful moments with everything involving Whitehall was deliciously evil. One of the things that came out of, complete surprise was how unceremoniously he was killed off, but it was used to great effect, both dramatic and comedic, thanks to Cal MacLachlan's performance as Cal. And Cal himself, anything with Cal in this episode, I think, I'm going to say it over-delivered on what anybody would have expected. I think ultimately there are so many things up in the air. There were so many things in motion. But the one thing, most important of all, that it needed to get right was making sure we believed the moment that they first met up together. And making sure that was the most care they put into. Because if that did not work, the rest of it would have fallen apart completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was very noteworthy. And they reckon, you can tell when you watch this episode that they knew how badly they needed to land this moment when they gave those moments room to breathe. And that's not saying that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can't do that sometimes, but oftentimes when there's so many things in the air, like this is basically a season finale, and there are a lot of things to get to and a lot of pieces to move. But the idea that we had an extended period of time to watch those two basically meet each other for the first time. And by the way, that was not an easy scene to land on any mean whatsoever, because the actors and the writing had to really come together to find this perfect blend of all of these different elements, they had to write the right blend of awkward, which is exceedingly difficult and maybe was the most difficult piece of this to land. It's on paper, okay, well, you can write on paper that he needs to be the right amount of awkward, but the words can't make you feel that. The actors have to fill that space for you, and they over-delivered in that department.
No, there is 100 things that they need to go over with Sky's and Cal's meeting. Like, there is a whole bunch of things to go over. Like I said, objectively, what needs to happen with Cal is that he needs to tell her right away, your mom's alive, you're inhuman, you're gonna gain powers, I'm gonna kill Whitehall, and I want you to get away from S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that. Like, those are very important things that he needs to go over. But the writers had to realize, like, how can we prolong this as much as we can, and how much of it will make sense. And it does make sense. Of course, Cal, most important thing right now in that moment is, I hope this meeting goes great. I hope she can see me as not a monster in this moment. Like, those are the most important things that he's like cares about. And then when she brings up that you're working for Hydra, you're working for Whitehall, you're a bad guy and all that, he's like, no. It's like, okay, this is what you need to know about Whitehall. And then he tells her everything Whitehall did, because he brought up the wife, or like Daisy's, or Sky's, Daisy now, Daisy's mom, that went to him humming the music, which we heard in that dream sequence and everything, which led to him talking about her more, and we get this kind of sweet moment between the two of them and all that. But then it gets interrupted properly, not by a joke or anything. So that they had to like really think about exactly how this is going to go down. And it's kind of crazy because you have to make it feel natural, but you also have to look at it objectively and all that. It's insane what writers in general have to do in order to like, either keep a scene going, keep a mystery going and all that. It's really impressive, and they did it well.
And especially when you're working on a type of show like this, when you're talking about alien cities and contagions and transformations and gobbledygook, as Clark Gregg himself would say sometimes, you really rely a lot on your actors being able to have the wherewithal to be able to deliver those moments effectively where you believe it, and you believe it because they believe it. And I don't think I've ever had a moment on this show where I didn't once believe the actors and what they were trying to convey. It is exceedingly difficult on so many levels, because they're able to land emotional moments how they should land, right? They should, but at the same time, it's not as if the show is humorless. There's plenty of humor in every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
They just know how to strike the right kind of balance. And sometimes, I would even say most of the time, Marvel movies could have learned a lot from this show by watching when to have a humorous moment, and especially when to not cut off an emotional, dramatic moment by throwing in a weird joke.
Mm.
Just some notes here on this episode that I found on the wiki page, talking about the revealing of Cal and Daisy John. Calvin Zabo is Zabo is the comic book character, and then Daisy Johnson in this episode. Executive producer Marissa Tancharoen said, "As we always do, we pulled from what exists in the Marvel universe and put it on our own. We put our own spin on it. We had always had our eyes on Daisy Johnson, and therefore her father and her whole history. We sort of planted that throughout the first season and a half. You knew the story of her parents and the havoc they caused, the massacre of the Hunan province in China. We lay in things like that, and over time, you put the pieces together. But of course, Daisy's powers aren't really activated until that moment you see in the winter finale of this episode." Continuing on from this, executive producer Jed Whedon stated that there are parts of it that move away from the story in the comics, but partially that's because we invented our own way of getting there. We always wanted it to be a surprise to the people who are familiar with the comics, but it's also because we're tying into a larger world. It's not just her origin story, it's the origin story of a bigger other world, and that is the world of the Inhumans that's going to be coming onto our show. Elaborating on the idea of introducing Inhumans to the MCU in the episode, Tancharoen said, "It's been a property in the Marvel Universe that we've been interested in since the beginning. Our tagline when we began the show was, 'Not all heroes are super,' and we wanted to focus on that and highlight that for the first season. Now, as we move forward, we're diving deeper into the Marvel Universe, and it's our way of exploring a whole new world that may be comprised of people who have special abilities. We think that's going to open everything up for us." Also, speaking to the death of Agent Triplet in this episode, something the executive producers do not, quote-unquote, take lightly, Whedon explained, "We need to establish that there are stakes in our world, and there can be real consequences. But mostly for us, it was for the mixed emotion of that moment, which we're very proud of. Our whole goal is to have the audience feel something, and to be able to feel excitement and despair at the same time. It made it seem more powerful to us. It makes for a more complicated journey for Skye going forward because it's not all fun and games. This is something that she may not understand right away. What happened in there, it would be complicated anyway to understand. Now, it will be emotionally complex as well." Before we get on to Amwan, let me get to some quick ones here. Alan Sepinwall of HitFix felt the episode had a whole lot to squeeze into a short amount of time, and felt that it did so mostly successfully. He particularly praised the Skye and Cal reunion scene and the performances of Bennett and McLaughlin, while noting that Triplet's sacrifice probably would have meant more if he had been given more to do this season, which is what you said, David, and that's really the truth here. James Hunt, Den of Geek, praised the introduction of the Inhumans and the way that the episode tied up multiple storylines while setting up new and exciting ones for the rest of the season. Kevin Fitzpatrick of Screen Crush felt that from a casual viewer's perspective, rather than a comics fan, the Daisy and Cal Inhuman reveals were most likely insignificant and perhaps made the episode a bit of a letdown in terms of a mid-season finale. No, Kevin. I'm just going to tell you, no. We're going to shut that shit down. That's not happening. Joseph McCabe of Nerdist, who stated, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't seen an episode so simultaneously satisfying to longtime comic book fans and frustrating to its general audience as it does in what they become, noting that Daisy and Cal in the Inhuman reveals would mean nothing to the... I'm going to stop you bitches right here. Weren't you the people who were saying for weeks on end that you needed some more comic book tie-ins here to feel more invested? And the moment you're getting the sense that there are these big revelations, all of a sudden, while I enjoyed that, maybe the general audience at large might not be so happy with it. Which is it? Which is it? I can't be the only one picking up on this hypocrisy, right? Like, it's like, is this how you genuinely feel? Or you feel the need to throw in some criticism in there somewhere because this is, at this time that it is being written in 2014, it is not a universally loved and praised show. What is informing your decisions to say this? Because you people could not shut the fuck up last season about, when are we going to get the comic book tie-ins? When are we going to get the comic book tie-ins? When we need more characters? Bitch, turns out they were there the whole time. And then when it's been revealed to you, you're like, but what about the general audience? Which, by the way, it came to a certain point when you yourselves were reviewing Marvel movies that kind of concern, well, what about the general audience, just flew away, didn't it? I'll get to Eric and Oliver's after Juan, but
well, okay. The beacons have been lit. The Avatar has returned. All right, man. Gosh, these episodes are so damn good. I can't believe Trip is dead, man. Like, it's one thing if he was turned, like I was talking about before. We never got clarification on whether or not it could be reversed. And I don't know if her father was lying or not when he said he could teach them how to survive its effects, or if it's specific to only these individuals can do so. They metamorphize. You saw how quickly that they turned and then came out of their shells. We haven't seen that with anybody. Everybody just turned into a statue is still a statue or dust. See, I thought when she let out that shockwave and broke out of her little cocoon there, I thought it was that shockwave that was going to just turn Trip's body to dust. But no, it was just the whole place around them quaking and coming down that disrupted it and broke him apart. That's so heartbreaking, man, because he put it all on the line. You know, they set up all these charges. They were going to bring it down till Coulson and everybody went down there, and then he made the sacrifice. He didn't have to go in that room, and he would be fine if he didn't go in that room. Hell, he'd be fine if he didn't, like, kick the shit out of that crystalline structure that was inside the obelisk. If he didn't do that and make contact with one of those shards, he'd still be fine. But that's not who he was. He was down there to save Skye and Coulson, and he saw her about to get locked up in there and ran after her and instinctually got stuck in there, and unfortunately that's what killed him. That sucks so much, man. I don't think there's a way to come back from that. I mean, I don't know how you would. It is comic books. There's all kinds of crazy shit. Maybe they can swing something around to make it work, but that was emotional, man. The whole thing was really emotional. This whole, like, last 15, 20 minutes was just really fucking, one, there's just a lot of stuff going on, but there was just a lot of different emotions to wrestle with, especially with Skye and, you know, learning about this truth about her mother, about her father, and we still don't have all the pieces. We still don't know why he is as unhinged as he is. He says, you know, he had one bad day, like he had a little bit of a Joker moment, you know, with what happened the day, you know, Hydra/S.H.I.E.L.D. came to take his wife away, and then everything that happened after that, especially when he finally found her in the state that she was in when he found her, like, that'll do something to you. But, like, he seems to have, like, this Jekyll and Hyde thing going on, and some kind of weird monster strength or something like that, but where does that come from? Just other experimentations? We don't really have any of those answers yet. Ward is playing his own game. He's like, I'm not allied to anybody but myself, and I made a promise to Skye, and I'm going to maintain that promise because I still have feelings for her. So we'll see where that thing goes. And now with Whitehall dead, I was kind of surprised that's how he went down, and so nonchalantly like that too, with Coulson just coming from behind, still in that kill. And nothing he had been building up in his head all these years went according to plan. Not the reunion with his daughter, and definitely not getting to exact revenge on Whitehall for what happened. No, all that kind of got taken, and he started to make Coulson this vehicle, this outlet for all of that rage, but Skye had to step in. Or Daisy now. Daisy stepped in. We'll call her Skye until she settles into the Daisy of it all. But all that was just really, really well done, especially, you know, when she had to try to get his attention to stop beating on Coulson, when she just yelled out, "Dad," and you just saw his face freeze up and light up in a way as well. It was just her two dads just going at it, man. I don't know the deal with Reyna. I don't know where that goes. I know what this did to Skye. That's one of the things we've talked about before that I did already know. I knew what she was. I know what she can do. I don't know the extent of it. I know like the main base thing. I know obviously her code name. I've heard it over the years. And also I knew her real name, because it's also, I completely forgot that she had Skye as an alias up until this point, that she didn't know her, or she didn't go by her real name until we started rewatching these little seasons here. So I feel like I think we're not that far off from where I stopped watching. I'm not exactly sure, who knows, but I do feel like it's around the corner, because again, I don't know that I finished this season. I don't know if I got all the way through this one, but I can tell you at least from season 3 onward, it's all going to be like, I've never seen a second of any of that. Coming back to the Ward thing, though, you know, that whole little thing, now that Whitehall's dead, you know, this fake May is now kind of a free agent. And it's funny, because in a weird way, he was like, hey, how about we get out of here or whatever, you know, be your own person, blah, 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 come with me. You know, that whole thing. It's a little weird, too, be considering the relationship that Ward had with the real May. And if there's going to be some weird kind of pseudo version of that with her here, still with Skye at the center of all of it, that would be interesting if they kind of did something along those lines. Mac is okay, seemingly, now that the temple has served its purpose. Though I don't understand the whole, like, does it just do a one shot and it's done? I feel like this would be a perennial thing. It just wouldn't, but based on what the obelisk does and what it's for, I wouldn't imagine it's just a one and done. You know, the self-defense mechanism, I'm kind of surprised that it just turned off once it fired off once. But he's free. I'm still torn up about Trip, though. Like, I really, really dug him. And, you know, there was some fun stuff going on there. You know, whether or not it was with Skye or Simmons and stuff like that, they've kind of been flirting around a little bit with each one of them. Simmons last season, him and Skye this season. So I really was like, I don't know where that leaves us now. But again, Fitz was actually doing real good, aside from like going the wrong way when he went to stand up for himself. He's like, hey, we're short on time, we need to split up. You know, his head was on the right track most of this episode, so that was also really surprising and also nice to see. We did have a little bit more tugging at that thread that was set up last episode about whatever this secret is that Bobby's keeping from Hunter. It feeds into everything they've kind of been talking about up until this point about why he struggles with trusting her. He wants to, but the nature of her job, the nature of their jobs, and then stuff like this is exactly why he never can. He wants to, again, but there's always going to be that little itch in the back of his mind wondering, the fuck is she keeping from me? And he noticed that her sleight of hand was not as slick as she thought. His perception check was just too high. He saw that she was trying to hide that disc from him, or that thumb drive from him. What's on it? We don't know. You know, Mac knows whatever this thing is, and it's something they're keeping from Hunter. What is it? I have no idea. I'm sure we'll find out eventually. But, yeah, man, pretty damn... this whole season's been really fucking firing, man. Like, it's every episode, like, last season, there was the one episode where I was just like, eh. But overall, season 1 was just really damn strong. Right now, I've not felt about a single episode this season so far that I can at least recollect right now. But that said, guys, what'd you all think?
That's really funny. It didn't put together, because I think I just blocked it out at this point. Oh yeah, May and Ward had a relationship, I guess, in season 1, and then of course Ward just walked out with May's evil twin. It's just, you can't make this shit up. Oliver Sava. What was see here? I'll go with, let's see. Eric Goldman. He gave the episode a 9.3. Amazing. That's what he said. Sky is actually Daisy Johnson / Quake. The Doctor is actually Calvin Zabel, Mr. Hyde. Oh, and yeah, the Inhumans are here. That last part wasn't explicitly stated in the episode as far as using words. Sure, no one said Adelan or Inhumans, but by the time a freaking mist was released and unlocked Daisy's powers, S.H.I.E.L.D. was practically screaming, yes, this is the Inhumans. And when I spoke to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s EP Marissa Chancharoen and Jed Whedon after watching the episode, they indeed confirmed the Inhumans are now a part of the series, so here we are. I know some will complain that all of these reveals were ones people guessed, but that is somewhat par for the course in the internet age, where every theory is gone over and shared over and over. What was important was that what they become did a very good job of getting us to these reveals, and of course it was simply having the Doctor say Cal and Daisy that confirmed suspicions about who this father-daughter duo were. I bemoaned not having Kyle MacLachlan in last week's episode, but he was all over this one and giving a terrific performance. Cal was a mess. A violent, murdering, emotional mess. Having him be so damn sincere, heartfelt, and weepy with Sky was such a great touch, as he dropped all pretense of being the bad guy just for a few moments, including the dorky dad touches like those little almond cookies he wished he'd bought. But when he spoke about what Whitehall did to his beloved wife, you felt his rage just pouring out of him. MacLachlan perfectly conveyed these conflicting and quickly changing emotions, showing all the facets of this dangerous man. Chloe Bennett was also very good here, as Sky absorbed all of this, and I especially liked her own conflicted despair when Sky broke down with Coulson about how she couldn't bring herself to kill her father. In an episode that would reveal Sky was in fact one of the Avengers, going by her comic book history, that is, we'll see where her MCU future takes her. Moment of silence. She got a lot of cool moments, once more showing how far this character has come from all of those "Isn't Sky awesome?" Coulson speeches in season 1 that felt so forced and unearned. Now she actually is pretty awesome. The way she used the Diviner as a weapon against a Hydra soldier after surviving touching it herself was really cool. But nothing could outdo when she picked up that gun, walked up behind Ward, and just shot him. It was a really notable and Whedon-esque moment because it worked against expectations and cliches. She didn't say something first, possibly giving Ward a chance to talk his way out of it or grab the gun. She just shot him before he'd even turn back towards her. Okay, she shot him in the side, not the head, and he lived, but still. And Ward and Agent 33 slinking off together in some perverse partnership is a fun turn of events. Coulson shooting and killing Whitehall also subverted expectations, but did somewhat serve as a reminder that Whitehall never fully came into his own as a villain. His scene in the car with Raina was probably his best, but with him dead and Calvin and Cal still out there, the second half of the season looks to be elevating Cal's role while also putting the focus more on the Inhumans hinted at the final scene by that eyeless gentleman in his second Diviner. When it happened, I had written in my notes how Trip not hesitating to leap back into the hole to save Sky was a nice moment for him. However, his death while visually strong and sad in and of itself, was undercut somewhat because he, like Whitehall, and more notably for Tripp, given he was on the team, was never completely fleshed out as a character. I like BJ in the role, BJ Britt, and Tripp had some good moments, but he never got the spotlight and kernels of storylines, like his flirtation with Simmons or family connection to a Howling Commando, still hadn't turned into something more when he died. But what a scene that was for Sky. Yes, this show, which has pulled off some really impressive visuals this season on a TV budget, yes, including the opening escape from the Hydra Quinjets in this episode, hit its limits when it came to special effects here. So you had to accept that this wasn't exactly the most... oh, come on. Okay. I mean, hit its limits.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you say when it looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
Realistic effect, but still, Sky and Raina becoming encased in stone, and then Sky breaking out of it was a well-done moment. The rebirth metaphor wasn't subtle, but it was poignant as she began doing her thing, and everything in the Hidden City began to shake as her powers exerted themselves for the first time. Yeah. That's Eric Goldman. Now Oliver Sava. For AV Club. It actually happened. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just introduced the Inhumans into the MCU, firmly establishing the TV series as an essential part of Marvel Studios' bigger plans for the future. Sure, nobody calls, and nobody actually says Inhumans, but blue crystals brought to Earth by the Kree that transform people by encasing them in cocoons. It's totally the concept of the Inhumans, and that is very exciting for a couple of reasons. The first and biggest reason is that it makes S.H.I.E.L.D. a more active player in the MC. Oh, well, you know what? Oh, man, this is painful to read. The series has become more and more connected to the larger MCU since The Winter Soldier, but it's always been in a reactive role. Stuff happens in the movies, and S.H.I.E.L.D. deals with the fallout. Not anymore. This show is making things happen, and these events will clearly impact the future of the MCU because we know there is an Inhumans movie planned for 2019. I assume that's when we'll see the hidden city of Adelan, probably on the moon, and the Inhuman royal family, because this show likely doesn't have the budget for that kind of Kirby-inspired spectacle. Who wants to tell me?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you were watching this when it aired in 2014, you'd have every reason to expect this, right?
For sure.
Because, like, at this point, we're still under the, like, it's all connected. At this point, nothing in the movies has come out and, like erroneously, like, gone against anything the show has done. And at the same time, a Whedon was still involved with the movies. Age of Ultron was literally being filmed while season 2 was airing on TV. So it's like, yeah, why wouldn't it be a part of it? And honestly, this just gives you a little bit of a glimpse of what could have been, because S.H.I.E.L.D. did the work. Honestly, like, you really could have just done the Inhumans movie and, like, bingo.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you mention Adelan and the royal family, but they did do it, and they made it into a TV show.
How many episodes were there
Man.
in the Inhuman show?
8.
I was just thinking this, like, 10 episodes really is, like, the perfect amount to do a whole season of a show, huh?
Yeah.
Because this was 10 episodes, and you mentioned it too. It's
yes.
like, it feels like a complete season, you know? It just,
yeah.
You turn off there, you wait for the next year, you get excited for the next year and all that, and you keep going. So, it still gets me mad, you know? we get 6 episodes of a show and all that, and you're just like, it feels like you're dragging stuff out, man.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
It very much is. I am. A lot of this review is obviously going on about the potential opportunities that never came to pass. So I'm just trying to skip to the part where we can talk about character. Okay. Kyle MacLachlan has only had a handful of appearances, but he's quickly become the MVP of this series, giving a performance that finds the perfect balance of scenery-chewing exaggeration and grounded emotion. Emotions! He's the kind of actor you want on your TV show set in a superhero universe, with a range that allows him to fill Cal and Sky's scenes with personal feeling, then switch seamlessly into homicidal monster mode when he goes after Whitehall and Coulson. Best stay ever. God, I wanted to laugh so hard when he's just like, okay, now excuse me while I go kill the man. The best day ever. MacLachlan makes the distinction between Cal and Mr. Hyde very clear, and he gets to really intensify those opposing aspects of his character in this episode. Let's see here. This episode's climactic scene is given a lot of dramatic weight by director Michael Zinberg and music composer Bear McCreary, who capture the majesty of Skya's transformation to create a moment of triumph that contrasts nicely with the tragedy of Trip turning to dust. Trip's death isn't quite as impactful as it should be, though, because he never really integrated into the team in a meaningful way. Trip got his moments of action, but not much in the way of character development, and light flirting with Skye and Simmons doesn't really count. This season has seen a lot of expansion in terms of the plot and cast, and Trip is a character that fell to the side as other people took precedence. But if he's going to be the agent that dies in the mid-season finale, Trip needs to get ample attention, or it feels like he's just on the team to die when the show needs a bump in the stakes. Trip was quite literally a casualty of this show's expansion, but that growth has meant great things for the quality of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. At this point last year, the series was still very much a case of the week procedural without much of an overarching plotline. And now it's become a story that S.H.I.E.L.D. fighting Hydra with the Inhumans in the middle. Like Skye and Reyna, the show is finally realizing its full potential, and what they become considerably changes the game to give the show more momentum than ever before. With no new episodes until March because of the Agent Carter miniseries, it's going to be difficult. Oh my god, we waited until March. Difficult to wait for the resolution of this cliffhanger, but building that anticipation is what makes this chapter such a successful mid-season finale. Some stray observations. What is it with this show killing black men during mid-season finales? Oh my god. Oh, no way. Mike Peterson got blown up this time last year, although he ended up being revived with the Deathlock tech. Oh my god, that's... Now I'm trying to think, did they kill someone in the...
Let's look at that too in third
season 3? That was... Technically no, but you also have... Lash didn't die then, but that was a thing. The VFX in the opening chase sequence are very nice. I especially like the color palette. This show has a lot of gray and brown, and it's nice to see all those pretty colors of sunset. How great is it when Skye shoots Ward immediately after he sets her free? I really hope the writers commit to Skye hating Ward while he obsessively tries to win her love, although I fear that she'll turn on him in her emotional, vulnerable state. That didn't happen, and I think after this, Ward realizes, you know what? Fuck this bitch. At this point. What is going on with Bobby's shifty behavior? Mockingbird was replaced by a Skrull in the Marvel... It's not a Skrull.
Nope.
It's not a Skrull, and no. Especially not with what they did with that. Jesus. This episode only gives a small glimpse of Reyna's transformation, but it appears to be far more dramatic in terms of how it's changed her physical appearance. I wonder if she'll end up being a character from the comics like Skye. Oh, and then some lines from the show. I wanted it to be perfect. I had plans. Those little almond cookies, flowers maybe, and then... I think this is the first time he says, best day ever. Best day ever. And then Cal, what did you do? Coulson, you're welcome. And then the line that we were talking over it, but this is also perhaps one of the lines that Joe... Remember a few episodes ago when Writing's on the Wall, and I forget the whole line that Max says about like what kind of creature feature that I sign up for. We have Hunter's response to that. When they were doing the shootout in the hallways, he says, "Join S.H.I.E.L.D., travel to exotic, distant lands, meet exciting and unusual people, and kill them."
Nice.
Yeah. And there we have it. Pretty seismic episode. Do we have anything left to say at this point? Any closing comments or remarks about where we are right now with this episode? I mean, I can only just say that it's just as great as I remember it being. What was it like watching it again for the first time, it seems?
No, yeah, it was great. I said everything I wanted to say, especially with the interaction with Cal and Daisy.
Yeah.
That was really the one thing that I'm kind of like, man, I don't remember what they said. And then we're watching, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then everything leading up to the moment was really, really good. Also, I started watching Interior Chinatown, which has Chloe Bennett in it. I'm on the 5th episode. So far, so good. I'm really liking it. It's a cool mystery, and it's a really funny concept about a guy who's literally stuck, or I guess he would say stuck because he doesn't know that he's in a detective procedural show and all that. And so there's like things going on that he just doesn't really understand, and they just kind of have to roll with it. And it's really interesting what they do, especially how it comes with like, it does tend to like switch shows, even commercials. And it's really funny when they utilize that. And I love lighting when it comes to movies and TV shows. They do a lot with lighting in this show. It's really cool. And Chloe Bennett, she's in it. She's a star, and yeah, she's really good so far. I like it.
Is she like the main lead?
No.
Or one of the main leads?
One of the main leads.
Okay.
But yeah, she's great.
Wow. I might have to give it a watch. I hope that people are reactive toward it. I hope that it ends up becoming a hit of some sort. It's on Hulu, correct?
Yeah.
And they're airing new episodes every week?
I think the whole thing is out already.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Hulu does weekly stuff.
Well, it's because you never know anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
Every show is because the Penguin did weekly, but then Arcane dropped all at once.
Well,
Agatha did weekly, but then like you never. I don't know. Like
I think it's only...
is there not? What about Shogun? Did Shogun? Well,
Shogun is FX though, and then they put it on
yeah.
Hulu. I think maybe the next day or maybe after the season was over. But yeah, Hulu itself, I don't think it does weekly shows.
Okay.
And then with Netflix, it's different every time. Could be the whole thing, could be weekly. So I don't know. But yeah, you can watch the whole thing.
How recent is it?
The show.
Like, did it just like come out like in the last month or so?
I want to say last month. Within the last month. I wonder if I can see it here.
Okay. I was only asking because the Golden Globe nominations just came out and it didn't get anything, and maybe it was just too new. Or maybe it just wasn't very much liked.
Yeah,
no, that's okay. They love Amelia Perez.
November 19th.
Okay. Oh yeah, so maybe it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe. Who knows? TV works differently than movies, I think. Okay. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and we catch us back next time for another installment of this wonderful commentary reaction series for the S.H.I.E.L.D. fan that wants to come back down here and talk about all things Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Leave a comment down below about where you were when you first watched this episode, as well as all of the wonderful moments that you can remember, as well as vent out any frustrations you may have with what missed opportunities there were for either characters in this episode or missed potential tie-ins that Kevin Feige stupidly let go of. Anyway, we'll see you agents back here next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.